education needs to the educational system in Africa needs to really reflect internally upon the necessity to bring forth an education that is truly connected and relatable to the African reality, tracing back into history, bringing back the truth and not some of the things, the lies that have been given to Black people and African people and the whole world in general. Because the thing is that only the winners, only the winners, the conquerors will tell their side of the story, and it goes as um, word of as we say in French, blanc seing. It's almost like it's there's a word for that in English. It's almost biblical, right? You can't. It's dogmatic. That's the word, dogmatic, and it cannot be denied. It cannot be discussed. And if you discuss it, you're susceptible of being cancelled. There's so many, especially nowadays. There's no more room for conversations, no more room for actual intelligent debate, intelligent philosophical conversations, and also sometimes agreeing that yes, you've been lied to and you have been defending something that isn't true. You know, um, so that's really where my point is, and I think that a lot of people nowadays, because everybody wants to have a point of view on everything, they just jump whatever comes to their mind, and and then they try to stick by it, and they cover it up with so many different things at the same time. So it's like you're even confused as to what was the initial point of the conversation, especially when it comes to conversation on Africa, the African diaspora, etc. You can sense that everybody has something to say. Great, and schools of thoughts will debate as to which water is more blue than the other. Problem is when the school of thought that when there's a school of thought that is very dominating in the paradigm we're in and we've been in and dealing with in this world for quite some time now, a couple of 100 years, which is this well occidentalized version of African history. When you have, for example, the design of the world map, the Mapa Mundo, where you can see the size of Africa being reduced to its smallest possible, so that the rest of the world can look big and Africa can look small. All these things play into so many different things subconsciously. You know, um, Normalizing, these funds and these supports by these organizations that are supposedly bringing in and pouring in so much money into the wrong projects. The support for how do you call this, development, where you don't see no development. They've been at it for 30 plus years, 40 years. Nothing can be seen as far as any progress. But then they'll say, no, but it's you guys, the Africans, you don't know how you don't know how to manage. If there's no foreigners, whites, this and that to help handle these businesses, you people cannot handle these businesses accordingly. And this is such a lie. And even though, yes, we can definitely acknowledge that there is mismanagement of resources on so many levels continentally, um, it's deeper than that. It's deeper than that, and trying to limit the conversation to just it's you, it's not us, and we're doing our best, and we are the saviors, and you just don't want to be saved. All these conversations, all these, well, it's quite a nonsense. It's quite a nonsense, and well, uh, truth be told, it makes me laugh when I hear all about people. Again, not dropping any names, whatnot, but talking about the unity of Black people, the unity of Africa. No, we got to do this, we got to do that. Um, big, big respect, much respect for this or that person, but then yet when it's time to honor them, they're not being honored. So they're being honored behind curtains, behind closed doors, but then in the spotlight, they don't get any kudos. All of these kind of things lead us in the end to move in a completely disorganized way, and makes our voice to be unheard or barely heard, and easy. When you're divided, you're easy to be manipulated against each other. And that's the main issue we have, because we always talk about our unity, Africa this, or the diaspora that, but everybody's out there preaching for their own little turf. And I understand some of it, and I do understand that you got to look out for your people first. But the problem that I have is that um, you've got to make sure that you go beyond just your the direct access to the people you have around you, from your community. You have to go outside of that, or try. And you can generalize greed to as many concepts as you want. It can be applied to mm, money. It can be greed for visibility, fame, opportunities, you name it. you know but and I'm not saying that this is a trait that is typical and endemic to us as a people of the African community, heritage, and diaspora. Of course, it's not. But one of the things we can definitely not lie about when it comes to us, between us as Africans talking the truth, is the fact that again, we are easily divided. Easily divided. There's going to be people in your ranks that are super, super happy to support you up until a certain point. And again, it's not limited to us Africans, but it is noticed mostly as Africans. We know that. We know that for a fact. Anybody who wants to say that I'm lying, well, let's have a debate about it, because you do know very well that, this is our dirty clothes. And we have got to come to an honest observation of ourselves and really try to do better. Do better, because we cannot allow, well, it's not that we cannot allow, but we cannot just let people continuing the spreading of uneducated messages, divisive messages. You can establish a problem. You can look at a situation, look at what it represents as far as the problem that lies within that actual situation. But then, if you try to weaponize and charge this situation, this observation, and create division, you will never accomplish the goal of uniting. If that was initially your aim and your desired intention, and I look at the likes of the late Nusire Kalala Motunde, Professor Motunde, whom I've just posted a link here in the chat here on YouTube. The loss of men like him is rather immense, because this is a brother, this is a man, this is a big brother, a master professor that was really about unity, and unity beyond just colorism, etc. Why I speak on that is because that's another issue we have, where I see that, for example, in America, and again, I don't use America as my example, but I think it's an interesting set of experiences that we can speak up on, where, even though I haven't lived the American life, but from where I am and where I stand, I clearly I see this serious division, where there's this whole thing called light skinned brother or dark skinned this, brown that. And I understand everybody wants to be acknowledged, and I think everybody wants to fit in certain boxes. Great. I mean, to each their own. But what about those people who don't feel like they belong to these boxes? They just want to be considered as Africans or black. Oh, because black, and then the same people that now divide people in colors and boxes will tell you that, well, some of them will say that, yeah, but being black is not the color. It's more than that. Okay, what is it? Help me understand what it means for you. I was asked that question, and my answer was it's not obviously there is a color, but it's not just a color, because from the color black comes all the colors, right? So, well, if we are looking at it from that perspective, if you come from the continent or are of the continent, you're the result of a connection between the African continent and any other part of the world. You identify as black or as African should not be subject to a conversation, especially if on top of that you're acting upon that identification of yours, and making sure that you're looking out for the greater good of your continent and of your people, right? And I know these conversations, these words, and the way we're putting these things, we're formulating these ideas seems to be very grandiose and very, how do you call this? It looks humongous. But if you can actually change one person, or not even change, but enlighten one person, in your direct reach, you've done quite an amazing job. And that's where my point is. It's not about trying to preach and change everybody's mindset, because you can't never have everybody in the same sort of frequency. It's just complicated and impossible, because indeed, a word that is being used and misused, and definitely politicized a lot, is decolonizing, right? But I want to use that term in a more philosophical way, where I would say that you need to indeed deconstruct and re-educate, deconstruct certain ideas that one has received. So, for example, let's say, I don't know, I can't think of any example right now, but any cliche and preconceived ideas that you may have upon a group of people, etc., etc., etc. Whatever it is that is your bias towards somebody or a group of people, you've got to understand where that bias comes from. Where is this thing coming from, so that you can not only identify but also maybe find a way to put some water in your nonsense, and dilute a little bit of this construction of yours, and technically deconstruct, so that you can reconstruct, you can rebuild, and maybe change your perspective. I'll give you an example that is very simple, but I think that will talk to anyone. If a man or a woman has hurt your feelings, right? We're talking about sentimentally now, romantically. You will have a tendency, if you're at least at first, when you start delving into these emotional involvements, etc., and opening your heart to vulnerability, you will have a tendency to generalize. All these chicks, all these guys, all these da 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 da. But then you realize that, hey, Yeah, it's true. This person has hurt my feelings. Yeah, it's true that, I've gone through this and that issue, but okay. Yeah, maybe there are certain indeed cliche that do fit your profile for in some aspects, of course. We are predictable as humans. We are animals of habits. We are beings of habits, if you want to even put it this way, probably better. So yeah, definitely, our genders, etc., might behave in a way, given certain situations, that tends to be verifiable in um, uh, multiple situations. But with that being said, that does not mean that everybody is to be put in the same box. Even though we do indeed respond to some of those cliche and preconceived ideas, and some of them very, very, very well verifiable, simply because we are unique. And so once you understand the unicity of every human being, you realize that then, okay, well, maybe I was wrong to think that, and maybe I was wrong to imagine that this person or whatever situation in this with this kind of people. Um, Let me bring a perfect example. Oh, the Jews, the contracts, that is, echoing Ye's um, point, which in his case was, completely out of line and, anti-Semitic. You can say what you want. Not, and again, this is, well, let me not get into too many layers here, but the point he made is dangerous because, again, and I think everybody has mentioned that before, he put everyone from the Jewish community into one entity that he was going after. And I think that's the most dangerous thing, that you can do. This is why it's important to bring nuance upon, anything that you nuance upon a lot of subjects, because especially when you try to talk about super touchy things like that, you can't just come at it from a very generalized perspective, because first of all, it's not true, and secondly, if you've entered a relationship with somebody in a business, and if that person happens to be Jewish or black or an Arab or an Indian or whatnot, well, if you know that it's them that are running the rule, that are setting up the rules for this business, that you're entering in with them, well, understand how you can work around those rules, change some of these rules, or just accept the rules. It's not that complicated. So technically, nobody really put a gun on your head to do anything that you're getting involved in, except your greed and your desire to just make that moolah, and then say, well, I wasn't educated. But but the point is this: there's no such thing as free money. And it's interesting. The other day, I was looking at this movie, watching this movie, sorry, and it was saying, when one of the actors was saying something to one of the guys in the movie, said, you should never accept money from anyone before asking them what they want in return for it. It's very powerful. And that man had already accepted the money. And then he was like, oh snap. He wanted to give back the money. He was like, no. Too late. You took the money. Now you owe me. So what do I owe you? And that person that gave the money to this other dude, make him do some dirty deeds. And that's the thing. Not saying that, again, that's a far-fetched example, but it's just to explain that, before you get involved into anything, really take a moment, look at it, look at the long-term impact of what you're getting into. Is it going to be benefiting you on the long term? So if that's the case, then move on. Yeah, you probably have surrendered, some of the rights to this and that, but it's fine. Okay, leave that in the past, move on. We all have gone through these phases as a learning process, as a learning curve. And it happens with anyone in the music industry, and anyone in the music, it's a cutthroat business, and you don't have to be Jewish, you don't have to be to screw over somebody. Like it's not a. Again, it's not. It's not something connected to a particular uh, kind of people as far as their religions or their origins. This is a very silly point. There's just some human beings, wherever they're coming from, whatever they believe in, wherever they are. I mean, whatever it is that constitute them as an entity in the society. Some of us come with very nefarious intentions, and yeah, if you're weak, you're going to be taken advantage of. That's how it works. Is it fair? No, it's not. But it's not supposed to be. So yeah, you know, um, I just was meditating really upon these things these past couple of weeks, um, and so I just wanted to share that with y'all today, tonight, this afternoon, wherever you look at it, um, and watching this. And yeah, to be honest with you, I'm looking forward to diving deeper into these conversations and going into them, topics by topics with people that are as, if not even more, and necessarily more educated than me on a lot of them, because we've got to surround ourselves, and we cannot have any shame in admitting that, yeah, you know what, I only know so much. Let me call upon uh, the guidance and the advice of somebody who might know more than me, and who truly will bring about the kind of contribution that will elevate instead of yeah, reduce, downgrade, and belittle people's capacity to just potentially be inspired and be a greater version of themselves, and be about love. And even though, yes, I do agree that sometimes a little slap in the face can also be love, especially if some people start acting the hell up. Um, Try to resolve as many situations as possible through the power of words, and understanding nuances as much as possible, um, to the limit of the reasonable, of course.